Uh, the same master in another text, he says that when there is a pond and the water is dirty and there is a strong wind and even the sunlight is there, I cannot see my face there. So I have two options, two things to do. I have to do nothing to the sunlight, that is knowledge. That is why our master speaks of to become a seeker. So, to become a seeker, I have to clean the dirty water. What is this dirty water? This dirty water is the mind. So, two things. First thing that I have to clean the water. So, in those days, this master gives an example. I think, in remote villages in India, we still use, there is a kind of herb. We pick it from the forest and we put it into the dirty water. And it settles the dirt. Now the water is clean. So he uses that example. And what about the strong wind? That is my Rajasic nature. What is Rajasic nature? Mind is always busy, running after the world. So unless this Rajasic mode of the mind will change to the Sattvic mode, the waves will be there. Even if the water is clean and strong wind is there, still I cannot see my face. Sunlight is the knowledge only. It is always there, it is available. I need not to worry about it. So many masters, or I would say every master, uses the word heart. So that has to do with the subtle body. The outer surface level is the subtle body. The subtle body is the mind. So that heart, in the heart, which is like a pond, where the water is an intellect or the mind, filled with the dirty water. That is how they gave the simile and metaphor. So, in that heart, which is a pond, where the water is mind or intellect, filled with the dirty water, and many thoughts of desire are like the wind. So, we have two things to take care of. One is the dirty water, means the dirty mind or the impure mind. From there, the concept they use the word impure mind. So, that impure mind caused by the Rajasic guna. So, they both are related. So, what should we do? We already know. We have to do the Nitya karma and the Naimitya karma. So, Nitya and the Naimitya karma should continue in our life all the day, every moment. We just take the world lightly. And what is the best thing? Take the world lightly. Don't be so serious. We get serious about our honey, we get serious about money. Money will come if you don't have. You are working hard. We are fairly intelligent people. We know our talents and capacity. We will do, money will come. At least that much money will come which can feed us. But when the mind, so that is why the Nitya and the Naimitya karma, to remove that I thought, that I am the doer and the enjoyer. And at the same time, the Rajasic guna distracts the mind, so I should continue with Om Namah Shivaya, etc., etc. Upasana, meditation practice should continue. Final meditation is not a practice; it is just a self-inquiry. Now understand it clearly. People get attached to kundalini, vision, and colors. I see the vision. I see God and goddesses. Keep on seeing gods and goddesses. Nothing is going to happen except, yes, no doubt, when you are constantly seeing any God vision, you get certain powers of the mind. But they will come and they will go. You can read the mind. It's possible. Those powers definitely come. But powers corrupts, and especially the powers of the mind corrupts much more than the power of the politician. It destroys you. The politician destroys others. Look at our Putin. The political power destroys others, but this power corrupts you. My master never, ever demonstrated whenever anyone comes for problem, and he said, go to the temple and pray to God. And whatever he has to do, does it. In very silent ways, very soft and humble way. What I have to do with and these power belongs to that consciousness. This does not belong to I thought. I thought means my ego, my personality, my name in the form. Go back. So when the water is clean, the water, that means the mind is clean, wind is not there, sun is already there. What is that sun? Consciousness. It never rises, never sets, it's already there. So you are reflected. It is in the mind. So I realize the real self. Whether you say realize the real self or awakening we use many words. Witness, consciousness, real self. We use lot of words. It's okay. It's a part of. It's a part of. So what happens unless we are a seeker? So we continue doing the practices to keep ourselves in that mode of being a seeker. Otherwise, what will happen? We fall down. And falling down means ignorance. Ignorance means unnecessary crazy thoughts. Crazy thoughts means that I thought claims this is the real I. So that is what is known as covering, veil, ignorance. So we use the term of ignorance as a avaran, covering. That dirt has covered the real self. It is not mixed with the real self. It cannot be mixed with the real self, but it has covered. Like the dirt and the wind. Then again we have a question that, okay, but you are talking of the knowledge. You have started talking of these things. The Rajasic Guna, as long as it is dominated, the knowledge will not reveal. The Sato Guna means the knowledge. To increase the dominance of Sato Guna in the mind, we need to work on these two things. Otherwise, it will not happen. That is how I am mixing teachings of the Gita and with this text. So it means not only we are doing the Nitya and the Naimitya karma, we are doing the Upasana, the mantra, we are continuing with the practice of so-called meditation practice, followed by the Sadhan Chatushtaya, Vivek Vairagya. How many times I get upset, anxious, reacted since the last session, that will tell me how much mind is pure. It is very easy to know it. The mind remains in that state of calmness in any situation, in every situation, in every relationship. So that the continuity of that purity of the mind, continuity of the calmness of the mind, Satoguna is dominant. When the Satoguna is dominant, Satoguna takes the help of the Viveka and Vairagya and Shat Sampatti, six treasures. So there is a natural urge, intense aspiration for us to know the real self. There is a natural inspiration. I'm taking a cup of tea. I am. So I am attached to drinking a cup of tea. This is an action. But is the I thought me? In Satoguna, in the state of the Satoguna, the mind drops it. It negates. It simply negates. And the mind goes to the calmness. Okay, let me take a cup of tea. Let me eat. Everything outside in the outer world of activities, the thoughts and the feelings have calmed down. It reflects on your behavior, it reflects on your attitude, it reflects in your relationship, it reflects on your personal, professional, and social life. Now, see another little deviation, then I'll come back. Deviation is that deviation is for good. Because when I follow this trend and I become a higher level of a seeker, means that higher level of a seeker is calm in every situation. So then I have a personal and professional challenges. I can solve it easily. I don't create further reaction to it. I don't create a storm in my mind. What will happen? I had a loss. This guy I told you, he said, now I'm sorry I did not tell you. I said, very good. Better don't tell me about your problems. I'm very happy. Even if you don't tell me about your problems. No, I spent half a million or I invested and he told me the same story. I thought that I will get 12%. In the bank, I got 6%. Storm, storm. Rajsik Guna. Rajsik Guna. Then I told him, if you are a millionaire, you know you can feed yourself, your wife, your kids for at least in this generation, and you have the extra money. Even if you spend it, it is lost. You don't get stress. So that idea comes from those people, those who have lot of money. They are playing with it, and we want to use the same tactics. Have you compared yourself with those people? You should not compare with Warren Buffett. Even if they recently they lost, he lost $20 million. Doesn't make any difference to him. He's a billionaire. So I have to apply my intellect. Here the Viveka comes. Viveka compares. Oh, no, no, not at all. I'm not going to do it. There's 100% risk. I'm not going to do it. What the Satyajit Guna says, you should have spent in the bond, in the government bonds, where the chances are almost 100%. And why you want to have 12%? Because that 12% fulfills your desire for seeking happiness outside. That is the problem. So he said, yes, now I can realize. I said, you have realized couple of times. Every year, the same thing happens in your life. So once the mind is pure, clear, coming back, so pay attention that we have to have a direct knowledge, I'm again referring to another teaching. This master says, when you are listening and learning, you are having a indirect knowledge about real self. I gave that example before. I teach you that you are the real self unless your mind declares that I am the real self. That is the right knowledge. I don't say that. Oh, you have already told me I'm real self, so I live my life the way I want to live. No, it is not possible. It is not possible. You direct knowledge means I have a knowledge, I experience all the moment that I am the real self. That is the direct knowledge. Until then, we have to learn, we have to receive the indirect knowledge, and that is the secret of Shravan and Manan and Nididhyas. No, okay, you are right, but next question, next doubt, this is the conversation this guy created, this master created. No, no, but how do I know that I got the direct knowledge? So I'm giving my own expression. When you drive your car to your home, you have parked the car to your home, park the car in the garage. Do you ask that, how long I have to drive? You know it. It is self evident. You need not to even think. It is self evident. You are in that mode of awareness that you have reached. So this master says, don't ask that question, but ask all the doubts when you receive the indirect knowledge from me. How? You see the clarity. Oh, am I drinking cup of tea? Obviously, you are in a kitchen, you have already prepared it, and you are taking a sip. Don't ask. We never ask. We never ask. Am I married? We never ask. If I'm married, I know. You don't forget. Even if you went into coma for 20 days, you returned from the coma. Are you married? Yes. That is the direct knowledge. That is the direct knowledge of the real self. That is the direct knowledge of the peace. So until then, what should I do? I listen and learn from the teacher, then I listen and learn again, and I contemplate and reflect. So when I contemplate and reflect with my eyes closed, then I check I'm already into the state of meditation. You are doing it good. You are doing good. You are doing good. Why? Because you are already a seeker. You already have an intense desire. You are listening and learning again, and you are contemplating. And during that contemplation, sometimes the doubt comes and sometimes not. When the doubt is not there, your mind is already absorbed into the meditation. You need only a couple of sessions and then it will happen. But if we don't contemplate and reflect, that indirect knowledge does not become my knowledge. I have to think. That is what the self inquiry is. So, self inquiry, once we are a seeker, the self inquiry begins with the teacher and the text and ends one with the self declaring, I am the real self. I've already given you an example. I've reached my house, I don't ask how long I have to drive. I am real self? Yes, I said to myself. Do I have to drive? Yes. Contemplation and reflection, self inquiry. Restart, self inquiry. How beautiful. How beautiful this guy has. Can we understand his mind, his extraordinary level of awareness that he picked up each and every step? He raises a question, he answers. He also says why we need Shravan and Manan. You have already told us to do the nitya and the naimitya karma, and then you have to do the upasana. I'm doing Namah Shivaya, any mantra meditation is good. Good, any mantra meditation or any practice of meditation is good. The master says we need to listen and learn and contemplate and reflect over a length of time in a master and a disciple tradition. That is why the master and disciple tradition started. Normally we say, okay, in in this country, yes, you are my guru, but I forgot to attend your session. Thank you very much. You are not disturbing me. What kind of a seeker you are? No, I don't say anything to anyone, but I realize, okay, very good. Thank you. I'm very aptfully busy. How long you have been attending my session for the last 1 year? Oh, I have been aptfully busy. You did not recognize your Rajasic nature. I have repeatedly told you. That here the master says, Master, teacher, you have to remain with the humility. You never complain. You have to continue guiding until they realize that after many mistakes, this teacher is still guiding me. That is the beauty of the master and disciple tradition. I gave you the example of my master. Of 2 years, I interrupted him. After 2 years, he patted on my shoulder and he said, I teach you what is not written in the text. So the teacher and the text makes a perfect combination. That is the master and disciple tradition. The master teaches you from his experiences, following the principles of the Eastern wisdom. That is why, by simply studying, intellectually getting the information will not help you. And that was the day I promised to myself, I'm not going to interrupt my master. I will receive as much as I can receive. So in those days, the Rajasic guna was dominant. To interrupt, to claim that I know, but I didn't know. It was very clear to me on that day. So there we discuss about claimer and claimed. Who claims and who is the claimer are basically one. That I am the real self. I claim I am the real self, and who is the real self? The one who claims. So the claimer and the claimed are one, then only we recognize, we realize. No, no, but you are right. I can understand you. So the master asks another question as if he is a secret. But who is the other one who claims and still does not realize the real self? It is your subtle body, it is your I thought, it is your it is your I. What a beauty. So I contemplate and reflect how long I say that I am the real self, and now who is saying this? I thought? Or no, but there are still challenges ahead. What is that challenge? How do I recognize I thought claiming that I am the real self and I don't realize? You have already answered your question. Did you understand that? You have already answered that question. Now, when I will know that this I thought is claiming I am the real self, when I will realize I am the real self, you have already answered the question.
Yeah.
You have already answered the question. So look
Yes,
at the subtle nature of awareness and understanding. We are refining our intellect. We are making the intellect qualified by this process. No, no. Can you give me some example? You go and sit in the dark room. Don't think. Are you not aware that you exist? Yes, I experience that I am. That is the real self. Do you have you thought? No, I did not think. I don't think. I don't even think that I am a seeker. I exist. This is an expression before I already exist. I exist when I express it through the I thought. Even before that, I experience that I am. Oh my goodness, this master is a great master. Ah. It does not need I thought. It does not need mind. It does not need reflected consciousness. Moonlight cannot know the sun. Sunlight gives the light. So that the moment I expressed I exist, it comes from the I thought. Before that, there is already an experience, an awareness, or a knowledge that I am. That is the real self. That is what the awakening is. That is what the realization. And once that happens, it is not a reversible process. It remains there. So then the master says, remember this. Once you have understood it clearly, but that is why I started the journey with the Mangala Charan. And I will cover that Mangala Charan, the master says, in 11 topics. Then the seeker says, okay, no, but Mangalacharan is different here. It has nothing to be objective, it is subjective reality. And that blows the mind. I thought is not able to digest that real self is the supreme consciousness. Why I'm not able to digest? Because I have a doubt. Who has a doubt? This I thought is a doubt. I thought is a doubt. So the master says, are you aware through your mind what you know is matter? Whatever you know through the mind is matter.
Yeah. Mm. Because mind itself is matter.
Mind
Matter
itself is
can
matter.
know
Mind
only
will
matter.
always recognize matter. It
Yeah.
cannot recognize consciousness. You're right. Okay. Then you want to recognize God as outside you? Aha.
As matter.
Is a matter. Finished. You have gone back to the primary step. First, become a seeker. Purify your mind, refine your intellect, and then understand. Then come to the self inquiry. Then anything that is consciousness can only be God. I am consciousness. I can recognize the God, so there is only a binary format. So Mangalacharan means every day you wake up in the morning, just recognize I am the real self and then check and start the self inquiry. Let the self inquiry continue throughout the day. So you are not doing 1 hour of practice of meditation, you are doing 24 hours. So here the master says, okay, you have understood, so let us go a little deeper. Once we are clear that the mind cannot know the real self directly, it knows the real self indirectly. Unqualified mind cannot know the real self. We have already discussed possibility if the mind is qualified. We have already made the mind qualified. We are a seeker. The mind illumines the real self, knowing the state. Qualified mind will remove ignorance, but cannot illumine real self because mind is a matter and the real self is self-evident. So the sunlight can only illumine me in the water. I just That's why I started that story. So now I don't need I thought. As I go into the dark room, I don't need I thought. So the same way, that consciousness is like a sunlight. It is always there. It is never absent. Even in deep sleep, the mind and the world is absent, but I am not absent. The real self need not to be illumined because it has consciousness of its own. The real self is of the nature of consciousness. That is why we say mind cannot illumine real self, the moonlight cannot illumine the real self. The journey is like, or never forget this example that I gave before. This master has this example that there is a lamp full of light covered by one box, second box. You enter into the room. To enter into the room, I need a torch. This master not only blows my mind, but he says, do you know that you still keeping the torch in your hand? Only the rays of that light from the torch goes to the box. Torch is mind. Torch light is the thought. That is what we discussed last time. He says, do you know that you don't throw the torch? The torch is still in your hand. Only you on it and the light falls on the box. Do you also know that the light does not fall on the real self? We have to contemplate and reflect. Visualize that. Oh, yes, you're right. Torch always keep. Okay, torch always remains in my hand. It is in my hand. I open the first box. I open the second box. Torch is useless. Mind is useless. I thought is useless. Why? Self illumination. Reflected consciousness. Do I know? No. I don't want to know. That is the nature of self discovery. And that self knowledge can only be attained by listening, learning, Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasana. There is no other possibility. As long as we are doing the practice, we are in the mode of becoming a seeker. Once you see that days after days, weeks after weeks, now this mind lives in Sato Guna, doing the Nitya Karma, Do not create any dirt and do not have a storm. You are already the highest level of a seeker, and the highest level of a seeker follows the self inquiry. Now, we have understood it. No, 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 but just make me understand it clearly. Let us understand clearly by another way. No issue. What is the first understanding? That lamp inside the box is the real self, or you can simply say it is the real self. It has its own light. Mind is the torch. What the mind has done. Mind can only reveal, manifest matter only. The mind can reveal the material world only. Don't rely much more than that. So that I thought should be not as strong to create a Rajasic guna, to create a dirt that I will know real self by the I thought. That is the meaning of torch in the light. We'll create a miracle in this session. Just wait. The first point is this. And what is the second point? It means if the mind reveals the matter, the material world of relation, of people, of things, of wealth, of pain, of pleasure, of stress, but it has nothing to do with the lamp lying deep inside the box. It has nothing to do with the real self. Real self is not affected by it. Torch, light, and the material world, they are always affected. They are always changing. The mind is always changing. Mind, mind reflects the entire world. That is constantly changing, but the real self is not changing. It has nothing to do with it. Second factor. Third factor. If you push the torch and its light to see the lamp, you are fool. There is already a light. So it happens when we are not the highest level of a seeker because I thought constantly nagging you. So that lamp is the real self which is not affected it and but the mind and the word, the torch and the light and the dark room all are affected. All are affected. That is not affected, this is affected. That is not affected, this is affected. What is affected is not I am. You have been claiming I am. How simple. Fourth, that is the fourth understanding. Mind and the world constantly affected, changing, but that lamp has nothing changing. It's an example, metaphor. So, this is what the Master is saying. I exist without reflected consciousness and the world. I exist without the mind and the world. I exist without the I thought and the world. I exist without them in my experience. There is a dialogue, that another text, Shiva Sutra. There is a dialogue between Shiva and his wife Parvati. So the wife says that why you are making the thing complex. So the Shiva says your mind is complex. We are making it very simple, calm. When your mind is calm, you can realize. But what about me? He said, okay. So he said, look, feel, touch, smell, but do not think. Look, no thinking. So you are looking at me, but you are not thinking. So I'm not a teacher. Because without thinking, without I thought, you cannot claim that I am a teacher. Without this smell, don't worry. It's a foul, bad, good smell. You just so what happens? The smells are changing, the sight is changing, the sensations are changing, and your mind normally negates all of them. And what is left after that cannot be negated is the real self. He gave this practice in Shiva Sutra. But to reach there, I have to start the journey in a different way. He said, can you live into that awareness even if you don't think, even if your eyes are looking, sensation of touch is there, smell is there, you don't identify, you don't give it, your identification means you give a thought to it. So I thought comes before you give a label to it. I thought first there is an I thought, then I thought gives a label to this guy who is a teacher. Before that there is no chance. But it doesn't mean that you don't exist. You continue to exist without the I thought. So you continue to exist without the mind and the word. And that is the real consciousness. That is the pure consciousness. That is your real self. That's Master wants. I am a conscious being. No, that is also I thought. He wants, be aware. So I thought is not there. There is an absence of ego. The intellect is totally refined. It acts as a moonlight. Reflected consciousness cannot dictate me. So I am a consciousness. Now here the problem comes. Now what is the problem? So the master said, did you recognize there is a pure consciousness? Yes. Did you recognize the I thought? Yes. So which of the two you claim you are? Now claim. Which one of you have I thought or without the I thought, that pure consciousness, which one you are? No. Again, this master is so wonderful. He says from the seeker's point of view. So the seeker is asking a question. I thought is also a consciousness, and you say the real self is also pure consciousness. And you already told me we cannot have two consciousnesses. So, how do you justify that? First, the master says, which of the I you claim you are? So, he wants to check whether you are still aware or not. Which of the two you are? I thought is matter. I thought is torch plus light. And torch plus light only knows the word. Oh my goodness. I thought I'm the real self. Also, I have to claim the one that is not the torch and the light, and that thought also dissolves. Why? Because you cannot ask the question, do I need to drive still after parking the car inside my garage? I already know it. I realized it. I'm the real self. So now, even if the I thought says I'm the real self, that mind directly goes there. Mind stops. Mind says now. Mind cannot recognize. It stops. So many masters says that can you declare Confucius, Socrates was asked that do you know your real self? The moment I express it, it will be wrong. So it is better to remain silent. So the master jokingly asked, you have two consciousnesses. One I thought consciousness, and the other is the pure consciousness. But you cannot have two consciousnesses. One is the moonlight. You are still in ignorance. Oh, so the moment you recognize I am in ignorance, so I negate it normally. That's another principle that we are going to cover slowly. I negate it. Neighbor's house, I negated it. I need not to fight. This is my room. I negated kitchen, I negated restroom, I negated the entire house. I need not to do anything. I'm aware. So I negated I thought, which is constantly changing, running after the word. What is left is real I. Where is the problem? Where is the problem? Which one we choose? I is a reflected consciousness, and that reveals the world outside, or I is a pure consciousness that has nothing to do with the mind and the world. Virtually, it has to do nothing. It is not affected. It is already in the highest state of dispassion. Even you cannot say that it is in the state of dispassion. It is pure consciousness, finished. That is why we compare it with the space. You build the skyscraper, you destroy it. That is the world reflected in the mind. So that world does not belong to the pure consciousness. That pure consciousness is everywhere. That is the real self. Yeah. The journey is yet complete. Now we have to, the master says, okay, so again, we can ask another question from a seeker's point of view. We are doing a self inquiry. What should be that question you said? No, you are okay. So when I negate the I thought, will my body, mind, intellect, ego drop? I negated it. So when you negate the neighbor's house is negated, destroyed. But here comes the secret miracle. This master has such a penetration. Mirage water is revealed by the sand and sunlight. It cannot be separate from the sand and sunlight. What cannot be separate from me? Me is real self, and what cannot be separate from me is false. I live into that state all the time. That is what is awakening. That is what is realization. Let me again repeat it. I know. It's a miracle. What
And it's,
cannot be separate from me is false. And what is me is the real self. The waves cannot be separate from the water, but the wave is false. Whereas water is false, it cannot be separate from the sand and the sunlight because that creates the false. Do you see? Do you see that? The blueness in the sky
but
cannot be separate from the sky, otherwise, there is no blueness. Why it is false? False means it appears but it does not exist. That is where we started mithya. So, Master demands an answer that did you not learn in science? We discussed about there is only two possibilities, truth, real, and unreal. And in Eastern wisdom, the knowledge is real, false, and unreal. Did I not teach you? The Master says. And what is false? It exists between the real and unreal. What do you mean? That false means it appears to exist but it does not. I gave you an example of mirror's water appears to exist but it does not. Blueness
it's
of the
false.
sky exists but it does not. So the Master adds another simple thing. Whatever appears to exist cannot be separate from the real self. Otherwise, you will never be able to realize real self. Who will realize the real self?
Everything exists because real self. So
Everything exists because of the real
nothing
self.
can be separate from the real self.
So, not only I have negated means I separated in knowledge, but at the same time I know it cannot be separate. What appears? What appears? What appears? Do you mean to say the entire world appears to my mind? Yes. So entire world is false? Yes. You claim it is real, that's why you are suffering. That is why Buddha says the world is suffering. You claim that it is real. That is why Master says I talked about, I answered you that to remove your doubt, I said, to understand clearly. What mind reveals can never be separate. Now, mind is also a revelation, so it cannot be separate from the real self. Because I'm talking to you, we are learning together through the mind, but behind the real self is still there. It cannot be separate. Waves cannot be separate from the water. The blueness of the sky cannot be separate from the sky. Whereas water can never be separate from the sand and the light. Do you see that? What a beautiful way to present. So, pure consciousness reveals the mind, the world. Pure consciousness reveals the mind and the world, and that mind in the intellect creates an I thought. It claims, I am the real self. So, you have the I thought, you have a real self, you have two I, negate one, knowing that it cannot be separated from the real self, knowing that neighbors cannot be separate from me, knowing that I'm sitting in my home, relaxed and calm. I have recognized. But this is only the first topic. This is only the first. What a beauty of this master. Because you have learned all those things. That is why it is better. I thought that we should do the self inquiry directly. And now, because once I studied and all the topics, and then another expression came. You have heard many a times that if the sciences follows 100% reasoning, Eastern wisdom follows 200% reasoning. It is so logical, rational. Through the rationality reasoning, you refine the intellect. When you have refined the intellect to an extent, you drop the intellect. Science cannot drop the intellect. All their principles and applications will be destroyed. We have a right to drop it. Why? What is that dropping means? You have reached to your house. Do you recognize? Yes, all the principle. Car is dropped. Driving is dropped. The key is dropped. Everything is dropped. You don't want to teach anyone. No worries. You don't need to study. No, but will you attend the session? Yes and no both. Yes, you have a play and fun. The mind lives into that state. No, you don't need. You are living into that state all the time. But the moment we want to be a teacher, then we have to follow the teaching and text and everything. That is the journey. That's why we say that state of mind, highest state of mindfulness is independent of anything and everything. What is independent? Freedom. What is that freedom? Freedom from the mind, freedom from the I. It is not freedom for the I. We are not seeking freedom for the I. So, those who are seeking freedom for the I in meditation, they will never realize.